hand if you want to handle all of that. The financial part of the module, like, I don't think we've even turned it on yet. We've certainly not started the process of having community meetings with different stakeholders. Like, we haven't even started that process. So like Drew said, I think it's a good 2 months away at the very least, because we haven't had these conversations yet.
So just a quick follow-up. We're going to be centralized fundraising for at least the next 2 weeks or 2 months.
Is that a question or a statement?
Yeah, a question.
No, we're not using the contribute function. Is not functional right now. We have, like I said, we haven't turned the module on.
No, I mean, so we're going to fundraise as we currently have been doing for at least the next 2 months.
I don't know what the movement's going to decide. Like right now,
we're currently still fundraising, right? Or, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do back and forth.
I'm not in the I don't know.
We're accepting donations.
We're accepting donations.
Yeah.
We do not actively fundraise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have not been actively fundraising, but Occupy.com is coming online shortly. This is a project from an affinity group that's been working very closely with the movement and is going to be producing a website that is a very digestible, media-friendly kind of website that, if it goes according to how they're planning, it's going to drive a lot of attention towards us and thus donations. And the donations on nycga.net are still, it's still a WePay account that just dumps into a general fund. And we still have the UPS address that checks get sent to. And then there's, just on the ground collecting dollar bills. And I can't really speak to what happens to that money once it's in. But.
Okay, next on stack would be Yanni.
So I would definitely argue to keep a centralized system, because if we do away with that centralized system, we're going to end up with a popularity contest and create a lot of figurative politics in terms of people wanting to join specific working groups because they have financial advantages over other working groups. And while I'm not against, allowing working groups, doing their own personal fundraising, if we don't let our decisions be done in a more democratic manner, we're essentially going to be allowing ourselves to be bought out by our donors, who are going to be effectively determining what activities Occupy Wall Street does. And that's kind of like everything that we're protesting against, with corporate money and politics. And so I think that would be a huge issue. But getting additional fundraising would be something I'd support, but keep the centralized system.
Christine.
So, my understanding, and I'm not in tech, but I have been involved in conversations about the CIVI because I am involved in AWS Works, and my understanding is that this is something that we will have the capability to do. People aren't talking about just going ahead and starting doing this without bringing it to the community and bringing it to the GA. And also, we have a fantastic fiscal sponsor, and we do have lawyers that we talk to. I promise. County, you'll talk to them too. They're the movement's lawyers. They're not our lawyers. And these are questions in terms of like the central versus the spread out. Where is the money going? What does that have to do with audits and all of that? These are questions that I think, from what I've heard from tech, we all understand that we need to address in a real full way before we just start taking money. Like, this isn't something that's going to magically happen because Texas.
Before we go on with the next person on Stack, since we have a lot of things to talk about, we're going to be closing Stack because we've been talking about this for like about 10 minutes. We're going to give this till the Stack is done with, and then we're going to move on to the next item. So, Chaz, which is the last person on the Stack.
I was just going to suggest that, we move on because it looks like this isn't pressing, and I think the audit is why we called the meeting, or what we should do with like our nonprofit status. So I just wanted the feedback on the timeline of that. But we should move on.
So we're going to move on, since the audit seems to be a pretty good issue to talk about. Let's move on to the audit next, and after that, our general legal status, since they kind of do link to each other. So, Stack is open. Well, actually, no. You brought it up your topics.
Well, I mean, just in general, like we're talking about not having enough experience. We're talking about having some issues with missed receipts, and we're talking about trying to roll things out going forward. Like, to be honest with you, like if we had an accountant before, like the amount of money we might have saved by having an accountant might have more than made up for the fact that we were paying them to do it rather than doing it ourselves, and it would have been done, and it would have been done well. I mean, I don't know what happened. We were interviewing them in October, and I guess it didn't go through or whatever. But we were trying to get it done for free, and accounting is usually just best if you just pay somebody to do it. I've talked to an accountant. He estimated it to be about $15,000, but it has to be done. Like if you receive more than $250,000 in the state of New York, you have to do it. There is some question as to whether or not it will count as New York, but I'm pretty sure because we're in New York, they'll count us as that, and we have to get the audit done. We need to get an audit done anyway, in terms of our overall process. So just in my initial conversations, there were a lot of things that the accountant was very, very worried about in terms of the way in which we do things. And they had the same level of confidentiality, but he expressed that he honestly thought that the way in which we were doing things was pretty far out of whack, and that it would very possibly lead the IRS to automatically audit us. So I would say that considering that we're coming up on tax time, we want to proceed with this at all haste, and it also provides the groundwork for how we're going to go forward.
Okay, so Stack is not open. Christine?
So I'd love to do a report back about what's actually going on now with this, because we had a really great couple of conversations with the Alliance for Global Justice, which is our fiscal sponsor. I know we aren't to the legal setup thing yet, but I'd like to just really quickly talk about what we are so that people sort of understand when I start throwing things around. So we are not a nonprofit. We are a project of a 501c3 nonprofit, which is the Alliance for Global Justice. There was a little bit of confusion about whether we actually were their project, really fully their project. We are. That was just sort of resolved this week. So the good news about that is that we have access to their accountant. We are looking at getting a bookkeeper to get everything in order, but it would not be in terms. I feel like there's two different conversations with an audit. One is that the movement itself was talking about auditing the accounting group, whatever that means. But then there's sort of the bigger legal conversation of an IRS audit, and a project does not get audited by itself. The nonprofit gets audited, and the project is a part of it, and their accountants would be, doing their accounting, and their projects are part of their accounting. So that's really, really fantastic. That's why people choose to be a project of a fiscal sponsor, because, it's a project of a fiscal sponsor. We give them 7 cents on every dollar donated. I think you have Stack over there. But part of the reason that we do that is because there's really a lot of awesome resources that they have that we don't in terms of, bookkeeping. So that's where we are with that right now, and also in terms of something that came up earlier, that does mean that donations to Occupy Wall Street are tax deductible. So that's cool. So right now, that's kind of where we are. They have definitely been fine in the past in terms of audits, and they definitely do run big projects. So, I trust what they tell us, and we did decide earlier that they were our fiscal sponsor, and that's how we were going to do things.
What exactly, you said we are a project of Alliance for Global Justice. You say we, do you mean the OWS movement? Do you mean the GA?
The NYCGA. Occupy Wall Street here, the money in our general fund, essentially. Like our general fund, again, the way that this accounting working group disperses money is a project. We consider
NYCGA
ourselves
general fund and this working group as a dispersing agent.
NYCGA money-related stuff in general. Like if we decide, say if Occupy Wall Street was to decide to try to incorporate, it would be like Occupy. Right now, we're an unincorporated association. We are also, and maybe or maybe not instead,